Welcome to Comics on a Pyre, a channel to have a meaningful conversation over movies, life, books, and shows, and maybe just a spot to spend time BSing over comics. If you like your entertainment with a bit of substance, then you, my vagabond friend, have come to the right tavern. Tether your horse by the post and come right on in and warm yourself by the fire. Tap that subscribe button, and for the next few minutes, my fellow George Carlin reprobate, lend me your ear. Relatively recently, director Martin Scorsese has garnered some heat from the comic book lovers over his statement that he believed Marvel movies were not cinema, stating that he considered them more like theme parks. They lack the aspect of human beings trying to convey emotional, psychological experience to another human being. To this, some might say, well, he's a movie director. What does he know? He probably never even read a comic. He doesn't know what they truly are about. He doesn't see them as a viable medium in which to express human emotion. Like most adults, he sees them as children material and so forth, looks at them through a child's eye, never giving them an objective perspective, letting them stand on their own merit. And you may be right, viewer. But it's a whole nother thing when famed comic book writer Alan Moore condemns the medium. Mr. Moore, barring Stan Lee of course, may be one of the most famous and well-respected comic book writers of all time. Besides writing acclaimed stories such as his run on Swamp Thing and the standalone graphic novel From Hell, many of his works have gone on to be film adaptations. Most notably the 2009 movie The Watchmen and 2005's movie V for Vendetta. So to say his comments can be written off as delusional, the perspective of an out-of-touch, non-comic reading adult would be a stretch. It would not hold its weight in water. So, what exactly did Alan say that got everyone so heated up? Well, the answer can be found in an interview from a Brazilian writer and editor by the name of Rafael Sasaki back in 2016, which was translated and published in January 2017 on an online pages, and forgive me for this, Folha de Sao Paulo. When asked what Mr. Moore felt with the impact of popular hero comic books in our culture and why are people fascinated by alternative realities, he responded in part with this. I think the impact of superheroes on popular culture is both tremendously embarrassing and not a little worrying. While these characters were originally perfectly suited to stimulating the imaginations of their 12 or 13-year-old audience, today's franchise Ubermenschen, aimed at supposedly adult audience, seem to be serving some kind of different function and fulfilling different needs. Primarily, mass market superhero movies seem to be abetting an audience who do not wish to relinquish their grip on their relatively reassuring childhoods or their relatively reassuring 20th century. Now, I'm going to cut him off for a second and dissect this piece, and then we will move on. I personally see his point about the substance of the medium, but to offer a quick rebuttal, I feel the main reason we are getting these types of movies now are for several reasons. One, we are just relatively recently, within the last decade or so, have the movie special effects capabilities to display these heroes accurately on screen, doing them justice without making them look hokey. So that is why now we are getting such a mass flooding of them. And two, these stories are mostly old, some going back more than 50 years. So of course they're going to be a little bit weak in the substance department. They were written in a time when comics were only geared towards children, but they still make up the foundation of why we love comics today. So many want to see them come to life on the big screen. These stories, even though they are old, are near and dear to many of our heart. And third, and for the simplest of reasons, Hollywood knows what they are doing. They are making a children-friendly movie that appeals to the greatest number of people. By doing so, it gains a bigger audience and therefore creates a larger cash reward, bang for your buck system. It really comes down to the dollars. Now, with that address, then Allen goes on to say, the continuing popularity of these movies to me suggests some kind of deliberate, self-imposed state of emotional arrest, combined with a numbing condition of cultural stasis that can be witnessed in comics, movies, popular music, and indeed right across the cultural spectrum. The superheroes themselves, largely written and drawn by creators who have never stood up for their own rights against the companies that employ them, much less for the rights of Jack Kirby, Jerry Siegel, or Joe Shuster, would seem to be largely employed by cowardice compensators, perhaps a bit like a handgun on a nightstand. Wow, more. Even though for the most part you are right, that was just me. Look, we have a lot of what is called bubblegum material in our music, movies, and sadly to say, in comics. You know, material that is fun to chew but has no real nutritional value, but they serve a purpose. I think Senator Gracchus in 2000's movie The Gladiator said it best.
The beating heart of Rome is not the marble of the Senate, it's the sand of the Colosseum. You bring them death, and they will love him for it.
On the large, people just want to be entertained. They don't want to think, to be challenged. On the whole, they are not watching Discovery Channel or the History Channel. They are watching Jerry Springer or Maury Povich. Allen's work stands out because it's special. He needs to accept that. Accept people. Because they're not going to change. You can build as many libraries as you want, Mr. Moore. The majority of society is just going to drive on by them. He goes on to say, I will also remark that save for a smattering of non-white characters and non-white creators, these books and these iconic characters are still very much white supremacist dreams of a master race. In fact, I think that a good argument can be made of D.W. Griffith's Birth of a Nation as the first American superhero movie and the point of origin for all those capes and masks. Damn, that's gotta hurt some people. But I do remember even Stan Lee agreeing with Allen, saying something to the effect about how there weren't many non-white superheroes in comics and how he wished he had created more of them. So there you have two of the comic book industry's greatest writers saying the same thing. As for the Birth of the Nation remark, having never personally seen the movie, I'm not qualified to comment on that. Well, I know this time definitely I have given you something to think about. I know Moore's comments gave me personally something to think about. Write in the comments below your 2 cents viewer. And after that, feel free to visit my comic YouTube channel, Comics on the Pyre, for other videos like this one. Tap on that bell icon before you go. And oh yes, as always, until next time, keep reading, my friends.